In this unit, we'll define exactly what the voice of the patient is. You'll learn the characteristics and attributes of a patient-focused culture. We will outline the properties of a well-designed patient-focused model, and we'll provide you with a simple method for assessing the voice of the patient. First, I think it's important to recast the term, the voice of the patient, to the interchangeable expression of the voice of the stakeholder. For the purpose of this training event, a stakeholder group includes not only the patient, but also the patient's family or patient advocate if the family is not available, other providers and insurers, and third-party payers. We mention them not only because they all have a stake in seeing the patient receive the best care possible, but we also know that they are significant because they have access to the patient's medical record. So what is the voice of the patient exactly? Simply put, the voice of the patient is a healthcare system's lifeblood, and it represents not only the stakeholders' willingness to utilize the healthcare services from an organization, but also their willingness to advocate for and recommend the organization. It's known as the community's positive or negative predisposition toward a healthcare system, and this predisposition is defined by three attributes: a patient's need, a patient's attitude, and a patient's perception. The patient need is simply the force, reason, or condition that directs the patient to the healthcare facility to receive care. The patient perception is the way that the patients organize and interpret information about a healthcare provider's services and capabilities. And the patient attitude represents the tendency of a patient to evaluate a healthcare facility's services in a favorable or unfavorable way. A healthcare system that hears the voice of the patient endeavors to influence stakeholder engagement decisions by fulfilling service requirements and satisfying patient expectations. In doing so, they develop quality of care standards that meet the patient need, levels of customer service that favorably impact patient attitudes, and ways of communicating that influence stakeholder perceptions. Building a patient-focused culture addresses how an organization seeks to engage its stakeholders and answer the voice of the patient. The hope is patients and stakeholders will respond with their loyalty. This unit will discuss how listening and learning helps a system build relationships with patients over the cycle of care. And we'll also discuss how to engage patients and their families to better serve their needs. In addition, we'll outline the value of improving the mechanisms and processes in the care delivery system. A well-designed patient-focused model or well-designed patient-focused culture has three major components: listening and learning, determining patient satisfaction, and the analysis of patient data. Listening and learning is the component that describes how a healthcare system obtains actionable information and feedback regarding how relevant and effective their services are. Determining stakeholder satisfaction is the component that describes how a system determines the level of satisfaction that exists amongst its varying patient stakeholder groups. Analysis of patient data is the component that describes how a system uses patient and stakeholder and market data to identify and anticipate innovative care delivery services for the future. At the end of this unit is a quick and clean method any healthcare organization can use to perform a voice of the patient assessment. We call it an evaluation of importance and satisfaction. To conduct an effective analysis of importance and satisfaction, the surveyor will need to question stakeholders twice. One query will question the importance of the service requirements developed during an interview or a focus group, and the second query will question how satisfied the stakeholders are with the provider's performance with those stated requirements. Here's our example. Suppose a large healthcare delivery system focus grouped a number of recent inpatient, outpatient, emergency department, and third-party payer stakeholders. And they uncovered the following attributes from the sessions. Number one, high quality, low cost care, clinical outcomes, ambulance response time, patient safety, the length of time to see an ED physician, I believe that's the door-to-doc time, case management, readmission rates, billing accuracy, and medical complications. Before the stakeholders left each focus groups, moderators had them rate these attributes in terms of their degrees of importance. The facility then determined that it wanted to ascertain the levels of satisfaction for these attributes once every quarter of transactions. After 1 quarter, the following survey is sent to a large group of each stakeholder segment. Once the surveys were completed and returned, the healthcare system was able to measure patient attitudes and perceptions of the system's service quality in the areas of greatest importance to the patients. Averaging the ratings of the respondents produced 2 numbers for each requirement. One number provided them with the average score for importance, the other represented the mean score for satisfaction. After the system acquired the results, they plotted their data in a service quality matrix. An example of the service quality matrix is shown right here. It illustrates stakeholder satisfaction represented on the horizontal axis and stakeholder importance represented on the vertical axis. A quick examination of the matrix illustrates the system's opportunities to satisfy its stakeholders. The attributes that rated higher than a rating of 2.5 in terms of importance, but lower than 2.5 in terms of satisfaction, is where the system needs to invest its time, resources, and efforts. These attributes indicate a cause for concern, and positive results relating to these requirements can engender customer confidence and long-term customer loyalty.